Hi, welcome to another journey with the shaman. Today is February 13th, 2023, and it's 7:30 p.m. A little late, but not really. um, I'm gonna ask you share with you. So I've got these writings I did back in 2014. I mean, and I'm trying to bring them to light. Problem is, I don't. I was just showing you that this is all handwritten, you know, and um, I don't know why I I remember writing them now, but I don't remember. I don't have it memorized, and I'm having a hard time memorizing these teachings. But I can't ignore them either. And so I'll kind of break off and kind of go off to a little story of my own, off on something as I'm describing it. Today I wanted to share with you um, what's called divine providence. Now, if I struggle a little bit, it's because I'm trying to, the handwriting might be a little off. So, and I'm trying to transcribe this information. Now I've got another one I'm doing, I'm transcribing into the computer so that I can read it and makes more sense. Um, before I get started, one question that I get asked a lot, and I'm in different awakened groups or 144,000 groups or whatever. Um, One thing that they have always asked me to get involved with, well, when did you wake up? When was your awakening? I'm sorry, I never could answer that question because I don't know what I'm awakened from. Because I think the way I'm hearing things today and how it's being described, I think I've always been awakened because I never fit into the norm. There are things that I just couldn't grasp. For example, sports. I have no interest in sports, never did. And I live in Green Bay Packer land. I got four brothers, and everybody had Super Bowl. Everybody had season tickets and all that. I couldn't care less. Never could. I just thought they were a bunch of overpaid jocks that need to be humbled a bit. That's how I saw it, and so I didn't really care. Um, it was all sports were like that. I never been to a baseball game, never been to a foot. Tried playing for football. I tried to play, didn't. Yeah, I was like seventh grade. I tried out for the football team, and I made. I think they put me in as a running back, whatever. Coach, he says, you got a problem. Says, what's that? You don't like hitting people. And I no, I don't. I didn't like hitting people. Uh, I'd rather have. Um, I did get involved with some sports. One was wrestling, and I did pretty good with. I went state varsity, um, and so I did really good with that. And then I was also fencing. There wasn't a lot of fencers in this area, but I was into fencing. And what made me neat, I was actually a pretty good fencer, but I had a magic trick. I'm ambidextrous. I'm right and left-handed. So those who fence against me didn't have a chance because I was the only left-handed fencer in the circuit, I guess. But I was also ambidextrous. So I could start with one hand and switch to the other, and there's no rule against that. And I depends on my opponent. If the opponent to my skill level was a little about medium or a little less than medium, then I would just prolong the fight, prolong the match to gather points. But if the opponent was really good, I'd switch to my left hand, instantly kill my opponent, and then move on to the next. I'm sorry, that's what I did. That was my only two. Oh, that and track. I was into track. I ran sprints. It was like I did. I was a short distance runner. Did like what they call the 60-yard dash at that time, and then there was I was member 880 relay, and I was like the last leg of that, so I was a fast little bugger. I also was a pole vaulter, five, 5'3", 100 God, 142 pounds, and I could pole vault. And highest I got, I think, was like I think it was 10 feet. So, anyways, I don't know why I got off on that tangent, but I did. Um, but what I'm sharing with you is that I never fit into the norm of what everybody else expectations for me. And so when they ask me, when did you wake? When were you awakened? And I go, oh, I didn't know there was a date. Well, when did you first start discovering this stuff? Well, all my life, but I wasn't looking for it. It just things didn't make sense. Some of the materials that we read, and I mean, I actually did a paper. I don't know if I'll do it here, but I'll discuss it a little bit. I did it as a term paper, and I turned it in, and it was on defending that Judas was an angel, and Judas had no choice but to betray Christ because that was his lot in life. I mean, only humans are given the free will according to Scripture, and what God teaches, that you know angels and stuff. That's what makes humans unique, is that we have the free will. Well, the situation with Judas is that he didn't have free will, because the situation, if Judas didn't do what he did, the betrayal, Jesus' ministry wouldn't have launched the way it did. So if Judas couldn't be a human, because it had to happen, there was no way around it. Just think of the logic. Like I told you, I'm not like everybody else. This is not what, when I was going through diaconate training, this isn't what they taught. This isn't what they taught when I was doing my own research. These are things that I just kind of put together. And I came up with that around 2012. Like I said, I don't play by the rules, at least not by everybody else's rules. Anyways, I'm going to go off on that. I wanted to share with you this writing, and it's called, I'm going to wear my glasses because I need my glasses. It's called Divine Providence. And why I said what I said, because I want you to pay attention to this a little bit, thinking, okay, this is where he is, but this is what I'm teaching today too, and this is relevant to today's, what's coming out today, which is, to me, extremely interesting. In Divine Providence, I started out with, we all have a purpose designed by our Creator, or destined for the purpose that we are born for. What this destiny is, to some it's revealed early in their lives, to others much later. For example, King David, when he was a teenager, a young man, and to Moses in his 80s. So, you never know when divine providence is going to hit. And to others, not until well after their death. Like the saints that are in the Catholic Church, a lot of them. And I shared with him before, Maximilian Kolbe, for example. Do your research, but this destiny is not always revealed to our understanding. Nonetheless, what the destiny is there. There even is one. People think there is no destiny, that you just wander about, and if you're the smartest kid on the block or the strongest kid on the block, you excelled. This never necessarily meant you were the smartest, but you were the most aggressive. That's the world. We may not understand that destiny, but we can help it along by serving and by observing and prompting, by being with the sacramental principles and the divine providence. For example, I shared with you a story about B. B was a sacramental principle to me. She was a sacrament. Yeah, she was a sacrament for me. she was a key in my world. A little bit, if you don't remember the story about B, you can go back. I should attach the link to this. I'm not sure if I can do that, but I'll try to this video. But B was somebody I was ministering to in a nursing home and she had rheumatoid arthritis, really bad. She was like 4'11", maybe 98 pounds. Sweet pistol of a lady, absolutely wonderful. At let's see, at 89 years old, she could swear like a sailor. She didn't let me get away with nothing. She was great. I loved her dearly, and I was able to experience her death and be with her and give her the last rites and actually even minister at her funeral, which was beautiful, you know. But she was a catalyst for me. She was a sacramental for me. She started my ministry into singing. Because of her encouragement, she suggested I get into cantering, which is song leading in the congregation. I've never done that before, never even sang in front of anybody before. And she encouraged me to do it anyways, even though she's never heard me sing. And because of her, I got involved with jail ministry. It all kind of just, but she was a sacrament. And you can be that for others too, but that's the kind of stuff you pay attention for. Then you realize God's in your life because these little things happen. Throughout Scripture and the life and the teaching of Jesus, God reveals himself to all of mankind, not just those who select few, but all of us forever. All of creation does the same. Unlike Scripture, however, all of creation is alive. It's what? Oh, and reacts. Oh, it's grown and it reacts to the outside. It grows and it reacts to the outside of itself. Influence not only gives shelter and feeds life, it is life itself. As members of that creation, we can be a party of that life, which is the breath of God. Breath of God, life. We're part of that. That creation, the divine creation. This body, this flesh and blood is from Gaia. God created Gaia and Gaia created us. We're created in his image. I don't know. And everything around us, you can look at and go, that's God's work. I shared with you the other day, my last video, the story of the flower. Just look at nature. You can't not miss it. Unless you truly don't want to, then that means you actually didn't miss it. You're just being stupid. Stupid is as stupid does. Anyways, this life-giving breath of the Father is still able to give life, and all we need to do is open ourselves to that breath. The breath of God can strengthen us, sustain us, and enrich our lives. But this breath will also guide us to a fulfillment of to our full potential as a human. Now, why I'm saying this is, remember, there's a lot going on out here, and there's things I'm hearing today coming up in a lot of the videos and YouTube. There's a lot of them I listen to. If you go into my channel, I try to save a lot of them, and you can see the stuff that I'm interested in following. But the thing is a lot of that stuff also is saying that our next currency, and I've said this before in one of my videos too, we are going to be our own currency. We will earn a living based on our skills, not on our wealth. And the more training you give yourself, the more teaching you give the more valuable you are, because it's who you are, not because of who your family was or your political connections or where you grew up, stuff like that. It's based off the merit of who you are. We're going to be able to sense that in people. We'll know who's legit, who's honest. That's going to be a while, but you know what? It's not that far away. I think that's very possible that we'll be able to sense truth in people, and we won't even have to lie because it'll be wonderful. But anyways, this um, a greatly abuse of the word by the New Age, a greatly abused word by the New Age movement is energy. So again, I wrote this in 2014. I wasn't into the New Age thing in any way. I was more, to me, at that time, I thought more practical. Forgive me. I'll continue. So I'm reluctant to use that word energy. This is what I wrote. But I know of no other word that can explain what happens when we accept the everyday observations of the Sacramental principle and see that all God has given us. We can be energized by that interaction. And I guess you could call it energy providence to avoid connection to the New Age movement. Again, I mean, I'm not against that, but it was abused a lot. I'm hearing it now. Some of it I believe in, some of it I don't, but it's not my place to judge. I just leave that like that. Anyways, but providence is not really what happens. Providence is an interaction towards our destiny, that something happens for a reason beyond our understanding. And this does happen. But what guides us to providence, what makes us react to and to look back on as providence, this is the life-giving energy of God's breath. But there are also other forms of energy that take away from providence that we also need to understand. This is before I read anything what Tesla's doing. I didn't know anything about chakras at all. Nothing. So a lot of that, you guys look, oh, that's this. You're right. That's what it is as we understand it now. But at this time, I wasn't researching all this stuff. This is just coming from my, I don't know, shell in the world, hermitage. How's that for a word? Anyways, excuse me. I'll continue on. If good or positive energy is so wonderful and fulfilling, why are not more people on the bandwagon? I mean, first, because of the negative, it is equally stimulating, it's equally attractive and empowering. But it is the opposite of the sacramental principle energy. This negative energy is the energy of the world, the way to self first and others second, if at all. So because of it's also known as the ego. Again, not what I was thinking when I wrote this, but that's what I'm talking about. So because it is of this world, it is easier and more popular, but equally destructive to mankind, because the world is for itself, not for the inhabitants. When we're talking about the world, I'm not talking about Gaia and nature and life. I'm talking about the human world, what we've been doing to it. The sacraments of the world are gluttony, sloth, pornography, etc. These things are all accepted by and encouraged by the will of the world. That's why we're in such a mess today. We knew this stuff was happening, you know? Openly rejecting them, and the world will reject you. But we live in a world, and this rejection leads to laziness and isolation, loneliness, I'm sorry. And the needs for the world are required to be a part of the world. And the more we are creatures of the world, the more we need the world sacramental principle. Read that again. Openly rejecting them, openly rejecting, the dark energies of the world, the dark principles that we're talking about, sacramental principles. By openly rejecting them, the world will reject you, and we will live in a world. And this rejection leads to loneliness and isolation, and the needs of the world are required to be a part of the world. And the more we are creatures of the world, the more we need the world of sacramental principle. We're dealing with that right now. We're isolating ourselves. That's actually why I'm even doing this, because I'm isolated. I can't be out doing what I need to be doing, what I want to be doing. So this gives me that avenue. Got a very good friend in technology that's helping me, and I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, I'll say healing guru. Bye, bud. Um, this world needs. What this world needs is a cycle that is nearly impossible to break, and because of what we became used to, the fear of the unknown, or because we know no other way, the world traps us in by presenting its needs as our own. The world in need is a cycle that is nearly impossible to break because of what we became used to. Fear of the unknown, or because we know no other way. The world, I'm going to change this word, has trapped us by presenting its needs as our own. And I'm not talking about the world Gaia. You know where I'm going. Even if these precedes, even if these present needs are dangerous, or even if our physical and spiritual well-being is at risk, we do it anyways, and we have been. To break this cycle of the need from the world takes time, and failure is going to be common. For example, take the repeat alcoholic offender. Many are third, fourth, fifth time offenders, more even. Most of these people are good enough by regular standards. Most have people who care about them and they care about. Most regret what they've done to bring them to their situation in life. They truly want to make unnecessary changes so that they are free from the bonds of alcohol. Yet they return, some several times. Even if their family and friends, even their death, they won't stop. No, I'm a recovering alcoholic myself, even though I haven't drank since 1989. But, you know, it, I still think about it. I still wouldn't mind having a beer, but I don't, you know. It's always there, that temptation. That's the hard part. What brings these people, these men and women, back to the destructive life is the world. And the world will is the world. The world will. So everything is right that they can't change on their own. This destructive life is in the world. The world, everything, the world will tell you that the world will tell them that everything is all right and that they can change it on their own and that they do not need, they don't have a problem. It's accepted. It's okay. You can do that. Drugs, pornography, gluttony. It's okay. You're not that fat. Yeah, it's okay. You can do that. Sometimes you just need somebody in your life just to say no, just for your own health, you know? And you have them. We just chose not to use them. I'll continue on. Now, these men and women accept this truth and stay in the circle of the relationships that they had before. But that's the trap. I mean, what I've observed, and I've worked with alcoholics. I was a jail minister, and I had a really neat program. But one thing I observed that these people, once they get released, they go back, and that's the only choice. But they go back into the same relationships, the same friends, and in time, it breaks them down, and there's no evil intent, but it's still there, and the damage is still there. And what I've observed is that they always return back to the familiar and the unknown, and the unknown is perceived as pure terror. They go back to what they knew, and even when the familiar is dangerous, not only to ourselves but to those around us. It's been said that it's easier to sleep with the devil you know than walk with the angel you do not know. We get trapped into this cycle that will always return us back to the trouble that our journey ended us up on that last time, even when we know what we're doing will lead us back. Just right on that track, like a hamster on a wheel. We are all creatures of habits, but we mustn't let that justify our bad judgments. We have free will, but that doesn't mean freedom to hurt ourselves or others. We can freely choose to hurt, but we have the responsibility to choose what is right. That's important. I'll read that again. Actually, we can freely choose to hurt, but we have the responsibility to choose what is right. Whether we believe in God or not, we all have a moral responsibility to always try to do the right thing. We can fail, but responsibility is in the effort. None of us can say that we have always done the right thing, the moral thing, but it is in our power to make the effort. It is in our effort that we're able to seek absolution from others and from God. I mean, the scriptures, this morality, this aspect is taught throughout God's proclaimed Son. He even died for this morality, that moral value of doing the right thing. I mean, so I'm going to go off a little side note here, and this is my opinion. That Jesus, I was always taught that Jesus was died for us on the cross to take away our sins because of the sin of Adam and Eve of eating from the tree of knowledge. They contaminated the human race thereafter. And so Jesus died for the sins that we all have and carried on us, that we were born into, according to the teaching. What if it's not that way? What if Jesus gotta be careful in this because there's stuff I'm just learning now, and so I don't want to jump the gun on the information, but I'm learning about Christ oil and the 33 vertebrae and the 33 years of Jesus before he started his ministry, and all that stuff is connected, and I'm piecing this together now. But Adam and Eve, the original sin is, and I talked about this in my other video, original sin, that's a man-made construct. We were not born into original sin. That was put on us by the churches. It doesn't say anywhere in Scripture those two words together. Original or sin, but never together as a name or as a. No matter what language, they've never been together. That was added as a doctrine, but a doctrine is a man-made construct. Anything added to a doctrine is a man-made definition of something or explanation of something that they want to say is divine. But the thing is, but that's all control. So, if we weren't born into original sin, how do we get back our sovereignty? That's another lesson. But in scriptures, this is mostly aspect is taught throughout God's proclaimed Son. He even died for this moral value and by doing the right thing. It is our calling and responsibility to live in a moral universe, God universe. God resides in this moral universe. Really, any time that we are dialing in a moral issue, we must include the God value, which explains why today's society doesn't deal with morality issues. You can skirt around it. We can blame the system or our society or that system, and we really know where the true blame resides. But we can't talk about that. We don't want to face that we put morality on the back of the stove. That we know that God exists and that he is so very important to our society as well as personal well-being. We removed him from our children's development, from our daily activities. We even went as far as to make it against the law to even bring up God's name in salutation to this problem, as a solution, to that problem. The result is that children are killing other children, themselves, and parents are even killing their own children. Governments financially support the genocide of the human species and makes it illegal to try to prevent others, to change the mind of others from committing this immoral act. Is you stand up for people, stand up for what's right, you get shut down. Oh, fake media, ding, ding, ding. Don't ban me, YouTube. I have a constitutional right, Second Amendment. I already put that warning out there. You guys have been editing me. Don't do that. Thank you. Love you. The result is, and we become tolerant of immoral behavior and went as far as calling it a lifestyle. But if you identify that lifestyle as if you hold that lifestyle up to morality, classify being intolerant of free choice. So if you take up this issue, this is an immoral issue. Hold it up to this light, this morality light, that got shining on me. That's God's light. How does it look? Oh, you can't do that. You're talking spirituality. We can't talk about God. Blame you. What you going to sue you? Take you to court. Can't talk about God. Why? Because then we have to talk morality. We don't want to talk about morality. Can't do that. Anyways, free pro-choice. Yeah. Free choice, pro-choice. Weakens our society by removing the responsibility of moral ethics from our society. Free or pro-choice allows us to not only take moral responsibility away, but the responsibility of creation and making it of no value. We as humans are appalled. When we see on a nature program the lion kill the weakest of its own offspring, yet we do it for pro-free choice. And I kind of stumbled it because it's kind of scribbly. Anyways, I'll read that little spot again. I mean, basically, we get upset when we watch a documentary and a lion kills its own young because it's injured or it's deformed or whatever. We go in outrage about that. It's okay when we kill our own kids. And when somebody tries to stop us, we get arrested. See the moral light going, having a problem getting through this? But to be fair, we don't even wait to see if the child is healthy. We kill it long before it even had a chance to breathe. So at least the animals give a chance to live. But we, with our own ability to be self-aware, to reason, and control nature, we have the capacity to love, to see and understand where morality begins and the world value of itself begins. And yet we still choose the later. We choose evil over good every time. The influence of the world draws us away from morality. Because of it seems easier, better accepted, and gives us instant gratification. Yet in the end, we all okay. The influence of the world draws us away from morality because it seems easier, better accepted, and gives us an intent gratification. Yet in the end, all we really achieve is a weakening ourselves and society, destruction of morality and its goals. Because of morality removal, we will destroy ourselves from the face of the planet. We're almost there now. Think about this. Look, I mean, there's a story that I'm hearing how a particular group of people in a particular government decided to keep everything for themselves because they felt they were pretty deserving. But the problem in this kingdom is that there were too many other people who were this eating, breathing, pooping machines that were more bothered than they were worth. So this first group decided, I want to keep everything. We got all this nice stuff, and we want to keep it for ourselves. So how are we going to do that? I know. We can get rid of the other population. Well, we can't do that. Yeah, we can now. Oh, we can do it slowly, take it over time. Teach them a bunch of lies about themselves. Let them know they're worth less than they think they are. That they're a less being, less of a creature, a human being. Somebody connected with God, almost like an angel. We'll let them know that they aren't. They're a little more than A little more than a worm in the ground, because a worm is in the ground. You can step on it, so you're more powerful than a worm. Who will make them believe that? How you can do that? Oh, they won't even know it. We'll do it right from the little kids. We'll start it. We'll be patient. We'll take generations. Well, then what? Ah, then they'll listen to everything we'll say, and we'll keep scaring them, throwing them into fear, and keep dividing them. That's what we'll do. Well, then what? Oh, when they get like that, then they're weaker and weaker, and then we start hammering. Then the government comes in. Oh, we're gonna, and that's what we do. We'll be the ones in power then, and we'll control everybody, and we'll just eradicate them all, just kill them all. How? Well, we can pretend they're sick, and then when they're not sick, they come in to get cured, and we give what we're going to cure them with is actually the disease. How does that work? They won't even know what hit them. Man, how long do you think? Oh, that could take decades, but it's going to be worth it, because then at the end we'll have everything, and they have nothing. That's just a story. There's no truth in that. Anyways, with the sacramental principle as our light, all is not lost. Because when God created the world, he planted within it many signs that might identify that we are part of the world and that we live in it. But also, he created the world, and that all that it provides, when we leave the world, we can experience his true existence, and not just in the world, but of all eternity. So, sacramental principle, you can see God in this world by looking around. Like I said, when I did the story of a plant, just think of this, of a rose, or any plant you want, or even any creature. Then going back eons, going back and back in time to the beginning of time, beginning of creation, whatever it is that you're admiring in nature that you think is absolutely beautiful, was created so that you could look at that plant at that moment and realize the glory of God. That's a sacramental principle. He's all around us. And to those who hear this message, I hope to be a sacramental for you, that I can at least point you that God is around. He's not out there. He's here. He's always been here. And he's nowhere else. So don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And when they do, that's control. And that's what got us in this mess. But we're not in the world of control anymore. The age of Aquarius is the age of freedom. We can free to be what God intended us to be. We are free to be our sovereign selves. Anyways, as we progress through our journey, we encounter either God or the world daily, both in the attractive, and both have their good times and not so good times. But only one leads to God's salvation, and the other has no eternity, only death. The choice is ours to follow which path we follow. Choose wisely. To help us, God has put the signs in our world that will lead us to him. But these signs also lead us to the reason of living, which is the journey. That's why we're here. We're all here for a purpose, and that purpose is in the journey. You find God. Just enjoy the journey. God is right with you. Humankind has spent its place in the world trying to understand its reason in creation. Some individuals to know their reason for living, while others struggle every minute of every day, try to understand the same thing. I would like to believe that we can find our reason for existence, and that everything in the world will guide us to this understanding. But these same guideposts in our lives only direct us to our destination. But the same objects can and do feed us that every positive energy that guides us on to our path toward what we were born for. Look at the life and death of Jesus. Even if you cannot fully accept that he's not only the Son of God, but equally is God in the same person, you can't ignore what he has given the world. Even if you argue that he never existed, that reality of what was taught changed the course of humanity forever. Everything that Jesus did or didn't do was strengthened by his great love for all of us. We, in all of creation, are connected to like two dancers. Each move, there is an equal and correct move from the partner. As for one breath, and after another breathes out. These interactions direct or guide us to our purpose in God's reality. But these interactions do not just happen. They have all been a purpose. That is not our choosing, but we can freely choose to follow or not. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I really hope that you do share the message. Like, subscribe, please, if you haven't already. Read through the direction. I have like a little thing about what this is about. If you have any comments, please leave a message. I'll follow up with you. If you want me to contact you via email, I'll do that. You can also contact me through signature at Agape Pathway Ministry, or I have my direct link there also, and my private in my email. God is good, and the sacramental principles that I'm sharing with you are not saying that the Catholic Church is the better of any of them. I'm not even that. I don't go there. But the message is still good. A sacramental principle it can be something, nothing. It can be something very insignificant. But it can also mean the world. A smile. When you see somebody at the grocery store, just say peace be with you and walk away. Don't wait for a response. You may have just give that person a little bit of encouragement from a rough day. Don't make it a conversation. Just say, "Oh, peace be with you. Thank you for your help." Or if they do, "Would you like paper or plastic?" "I'll take plastic today. Thank you for asking," even though it's every time. Politeness. Be the sacrament for somebody else. Be the church sometimes that other people just don't get in their world. Be that one difference. I've had a lot of people that have impacted me. Some I never thought could in a positive light the way they have. But those are all sacraments. Those are all things that made me on this journey. And this journey is what I'm about. It's all what I'm about. I don't know where God's going to take me. I think there's a community somewhere in the end of all this. I'd like to be a part of that if that's His will. But if it's just to get these messages out so that people start thinking and somebody else plans it, that's okay. Really. It's just, I'm just sharing my love for all of you. I'm sharing my love for God. sharing the love, because we've been so deceived for so long, and the truth is hard to find. I mean, if one group of people is saying that they have the answer and that's all, fine. You know, it's not my place to judge anybody. Um, I you know, but just enjoy the journey right now. If you're fighting with your family because you're awake and they aren't, find a common ground. Find someplace that's joyful, that's happy, that brings essence of God. Try to bring something joyful into your world, because that's where the sacramental principle is going to be. That's where love is going to be. And that's where God is going to be. You don't need to go through all this other stuff. I mean, it's important to understand. Like if you're into the meditation and you don't, and you're, it doesn't have to be so hard. Just be peaceful, be loving, be compassionate, be a sacrament, be God's love in somebody else's world. You can't go wrong, and you'll be so happy. There is no other joy. There is no other joy than to look somebody and give them your love of ministry. And when they get to a certain point, their eyes light up and they get it. And they understand. That's why I do this. That's my monetary value in this. It's not to be famous. It's to help people understand there's more to waking up than just reading all this other political stuff and the money thing. And look for God. Wake up to God. Wake up to His presence. Wake up to the sacraments that you see every single day and know what they're there for. They're in people. They're in your pets. They're in things that you can't even imagine. And God, if you just put that as your focus, you go, oh, wow, God is great. When you see it, you have no other answer. This little story. I don't know if I'll sign off. I'll be signing off already, but I'm going to tell this as the last story. It's kind of fancy. This is actually a true story. I saw this. I was sitting in my yard, and I was just sitting in my backyard, just enjoying the day. It's early in the morning. I usually get up with the sunrise. I go to bed earlier. I get up with the sun, and like if it's at 5 o'clock and the sun's up, I'm out. And I'm just sitting there having my morning coffee, just sitting there watching the world wake up around me. And across the way a little while, and I can see this. I hear this commotion, like this, and I look on, and there's some crows calling. I hear this, and it's really loud. So I walk over, and here's this squirrel getting really close up to a crow's nest. And behind the squirrel was two other squirrels. So now this nest is being attacked by three squirrels. So now there's making all kinds of racket. There's like two crows over there trying to protect the nest. The mother, I'm sure it was a father. Assumption. I didn't look, Anyways, so all this is commotions going on. And as I'm watching, one of the crows takes off towards the south. Now, why that's significant is just to the south of that, about 50 yards, is a Cooper hawk's nest. And this crow went right towards that nest, full speed, and buzzed the hawk. Came around, looped around it, and went back, and the hawk now was right on his tail. Now, I don't know if the hawk was chasing the crow because the crow pissed it off, or because the crow said, help me, I need help. Anyways, and so now these two birds are going back to the nest. The hawk is right on the tail of the crow. But then when it gets close to the tree, the hawk veers off and goes after the squirrels. Now he's taking care of the two squirrels, and the third one starts running away. So just as this is ending, now the squirrels are gone. The hawk is now starting to circle the crow's nest. But then within minutes, I mean not even seconds, there's 15 crows all over the place. Now the hawk is going, I'm done. Off you was. And so that was kind of cool story, but you know, it's God's creation also. It's a sacramental story. Think about it. It's got parents were protecting its young. There is nature. One needed to defeat another. They were being attacked. They were organized. They were organized. And then this one crow went to get aid from an enemy. Because I'm sure if the hawk could get his hands on a baby crow, he'd do it. So, but he went to get the enemy to help him protect his family, whatever it takes. But they also had the foresight that when they were calling and making all the racket because of the squirrel attack, all the other crows in the area came to help. It's a community. Isn't that awesome? God's creation is good. Sacramental principle, right there in living color. It just depends on your perspective and how you want to see it. I choose to see it that way. Well, I've been on long enough. You guys have a great day. Thank you for your patronage and for your time. Please like and subscribe. I'm new at this. My numbers aren't high yet. So anything you can do to help me, I'd appreciate it. Peace, love. God loves you. I always love you guys. You're marvelous creatures. And don't anybody tell you different, because you know what? You're sacramentals to me. Ha! You didn't know that, did you? Peace.